Virtually all of the following first-hand witness accounts were video recorded on location, and they have been categorized into 5 separate and opposing vantage points. Many of these same witnesses were officially recorded by the Center for Military History or the Library of Congress only weeks after the event, placing the plane in the same location. This eliminates the notion that their accounts are inaccurate from faded memory due to the amount of time between the event and their recorded independent interviews a few years later. The independent interviews in this presentation have been edited for conciseness, but the complete interviews, as well as the transcripts and recordings of all referenced official interviews, are available to view for free at citizeninvestigationteam.com. Pentagon Police Officer Roosevelt Roberts, Jr. saw the plane flying away immediately after the explosion. He was at the Pentagon South parking lot loading dock only a few steps inside the building during the explosion, but immediately ran outside and saw the plane flying away. He officially testified to this in a recorded interview for the Library of Congress on November 30th, 2001, only weeks after the event.
And then my sergeant, Sergeant Woody, he called and he said, "Hey, Rob, listen, we're going to Threadcon Delta." As I hang up the phone, the plane hit the building. It all came at the same time. Watching the TV, it was almost timed for preciseness. So as I hung up the phone and I ran to the center of the dock and I looked up and I saw another plane flying around the south parking lot. It's about like 9:12, 9:11 in the morning. And then there was dust and stuff coming from the ceilings, and you could hear people screaming. So what I did was I turned around and I drew out my weapon. I didn't know what was going on. I thought we was being invaded. I didn't know what was happening.
Although Roosevelt was incorrect about the time and assumes what he saw was, quote, another plane flying away from the Pentagon immediately after the explosion, neither witnesses nor official records support 2 planes near the Pentagon at the time of the attack. Roosevelt describes witnessing a commercial jet immediately after the explosion almost as low as the light poles, and we directly confirmed these critical details with him over the phone in May of 2008.
Let me just ask you a couple of quick questions. There was mainly a couple of specific things. When you had mentioned right as you hung up the phone, you ran outside. Which parking lot, which dock were you at?
I was in South Parking, and I was at the East Loading Dock when I ran outside and saw the low-flying aircraft above the parking lot.
Okay. Was it a jet, or was it a? Do you remember what kind of plane it was?
It looked like to me at that time a large aircraft liner.
Like a.
It wasn't a jet. It was a commercial aircraft.
Okay. Did it have propellers or did it have jet engines?
It looked like jet engines at that time.
Jet engines. Okay. So how close were you to running outside? Because this seemed to be pretty quick, at least from what your account sounded like. It sounded like literally the explosion happened and then you ran outside. I mean, do you remember how many seconds it was when you heard the explosion and then saw that plane?
From the time the explosion hit till I ran outside. It's a loading dock, and you can run right out to the look out and look off. Uh-huh. And then you see the flickering lights inside the area, and then real quick I realized that it was some sort of attack and there was going to be a countermeasure with it.
Right. So how many seconds would you guess?
Maybe 10 seconds tops.
10 seconds tops?
10 seconds tops. Upon impact, I stepped out the little booth that I was in, and the distance between that booth and the edge of that dock is about maybe, I'm like 7 steps away from there.
Wow.
So it was extremely close. You could see that plane just as clear as day. Couldn't miss it.
What color was it? Do you remember?
It was, to me, at that time, it looked like it was silver in color.
Like silver in color, but you saw it over the south parking lot.
right, and it was like banking just above the light poles, like.
Okay. And
had been no more than 50 feet. It was less than 100 feet.
Wow. Okay.
Because it banked out, and it was like U-turning, coming around and coming out. It looked like, for those brief seconds, it looked like how do I want to say this? It missed the wrong target, and it was going like out of the way, like back to the airport or something like that.
Oh, like, so it's headed towards the airport, it looked like.
Well, no, not headed towards the airport. It's almost like if a pilot misses good, he'll try to do a banking and come around because he missed the target. He missed the landing zone.
Got it. And are you 100% sure it was a jet, an actual jet plane?
Commercial aircraft.
Commercial aircraft, okay.
Roosevelt Roberts did not see the plane approach because he was inside the Pentagon at the time of the explosion. He saw it banking and flying away at less than 100 feet, only after running outside immediately after the explosion. This is why he thought it was another plane. Roosevelt could have only seen the same relatively slow banking plane that all the other witnesses reported approaching on the north side flight path. There is additional evidence that more people saw the plane continue past the Pentagon.